Pass the mic to brighter minds, but I am going to introduce Violet Sage Walker, who is our keynote speaker. I'm going to read her bio because it's beautifully written, but I do just also want to say Violet's role in advancing the Chumash National Marine Heritage Sanctuary is just, I think I mixed that, Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary is just so incredibly important. I think this is the first marine sanctuary that will be hopefully co-led by tribes, and the effort was driven by tribes, and surf riders just really kind of honored to have worked with Violet, and our Ventura chapter is just really happy to be part of this effort. So with that, Violet Sage Walker is the chairwoman of the Northern Chumash Tribal Council and the nominator of the proposed Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. Violet's family has long been charged with the protection of natural resources, culture, and ancestors of this beautiful space we share. She continues to carry on this legacy left by her late father, Tribal Chief Fred Collins, as a local leader and community member. Her deep love for the Central Coast is exemplified not only in her advocacy and community involvement, but also in her many other passions. The ocean has also always been a part of Violet's life. Her compass is set to the sea. She learned to scuba dive at the age of 12 and became a dive master at 18. That is very impressive. This connection to the Chumash land and sea is a deeply important part of Violet's ties to self, community, and her heritage. Violet continues to represent the past, present, and future leadership through a greater understanding of what it means to take care of our place, be good stewards, and create community. And with that, we are so grateful to have you, and I will hand over the digital mic.
Thanks, Laura. Both Lauras. Thank you for having me today. I've been thinking a lot about what I want to say to the California Ocean Day, because this is a platform of like-minded people who speak the same language, and we can talk about things from our heart. And when I was looking at the chat, I was thinking, it is an incredible thing to tell your story. And I probably should have been part of the storytelling panel. And when you tell your story, share why it's important to protect the things that we love. And I would like to just introduce myself as chairwoman for the Northern Chumash Tribal Council, but also I'm taking the place of my father, who just recently passed, and I have big shoes to fill as the nominator for the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary, and as third generation Chumash advocating to protect the Mother Earth and our resources. And so when I think about what I can add to this conversation, although I love talking about removing microplastics, and I love talking about, legislation and all this stuff, all the great work everyone's doing, I just want to take you back on a little story about where I came from and let you know why this is so important to me, that we protect our ocean specifically and support the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary nomination, because I'm the third generation. Palula Coots, the Northern Chumash Bear Clan elder, recently passed into spirit, was one of the first generations back in the early 60s to respond to the Unocal oil spill in Santa Barbara. She was there, and I asked her in what capacity she helped, and she said she was there to pray for the spirits of the animals as they were being cleaned from the oil. And I think about that. I think about how long the Chumash people have been fighting to protect the devastating effects of climate change. She was at the occupation of Point Conception to prevent a gas power plant going in there. She was at the protests against Diablo Canyon, which we've seen come full circle. Now we're shutting down the last nuclear power facility in California. She was at Ward Valley. She helped start Earth Day. She helped protect our land, and she passed that knowledge on to my father, and he passed that torch to me. And one of the things that that strikes me is someone earlier was talking about the fear sometimes of telling your story and standing alone, and that was the one thing that my dad had, is sometimes he did stand alone against a lot of opposition. and it shouldn't have been so difficult. And so for Indigenous people, it also pains me to think that we've been asking for what we now all together have come to understand as the most important and the most critical thing of our generation, which is reversing climate change and addressing the issues that we're facing today. We have been talking and talking and talking for hundreds of years, saying that the animals and the plants and the water and the air and our mother needs to be protected. And now this is a problem that we will face together. And we will do that by having Indigenous leadership alongside governments, cities, states, and local electeds and local governments. And the world as I see it has been forever altered in one generation. In my childhood, which was just over 40 years ago, we grew our own food. I'm what you call the last that came out of the hills. We grew our own food. We drank water from the streams. We ate the fish in the creek. We hunted. We lived in the mountains. I'm the first in my family to go to school and graduate from college. I'm the first generation living off of the land. And by off of the land, I mean in a conventional society. I mean not living on the land and having the land provide for us. I'm also the first generation that was born that is able to celebrate our heritage. And our Chumash heritage is what is the driving force behind the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. The heritage contains our knowledge and our key and valuable ideas to address the problems for the future. My dad always said we should never use the word sustainable ever again. We should flush it down the toilet. And I was like, wait a minute, isn't that what we've all been doing, is trying to go for sustainability? And he said, it's not good enough. He said, sustainability is keeping the status quo. Sustainability is the 95% loss. It's the loss of endangered species. It's the loss of the great birds and the great bears and the great predators. And he said, it's a loss keeping what we have now. He said, instead, we should do better, and we should strive to thrive. And by that, I mean bringing back animals, plants, and the water quality to where it's better than sustainable, it's harvestable, it's usable, and it's like it was in the past. It's what I wanted to share with you today, is about the struggles that we have of being a First Nations people, being asked to now solve problems that were not created by First Nations peoples, being asked to participate and being asked to witness and to help solve problems that were created that we've been opposed to all along. It's a fight that my father embraced because he loved his people, he loved the ocean, and he loved the land. It's something that he passed on to me, the passion and inspiration. And Palula, our elder, said one of the last protests that we took her to was about the Chumash Heritage Sanctuary. She said that she will keep coming back over and over and over until she is no longer on this earth, until she dies. She will keep coming back to stand up for the ocean. And I have big shoes to fill, but I just want you to know that Indigenous people are obligated to be here and to protect what we love, and that it's our commitment to keep showing up. And that being said, I'd like to share a little bit of the history and the story. And if Laura, if we have the video ready to play, I'd like to just share a little bit of the passion and the heart that went into the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary, which will be the first Indigenous-led National Marine Sanctuary. It's not the first National Marine Sanctuary that Indigenous people have participated in. There's a lot of great work done all around the country, in Hawaii, Papahanauanui, in Northern California, but this is the first National Marine Sanctuary that was nominated and put forth into designation by an indigenous tribe. So if we have the recording, we could go ahead and play that.
Gianna, do I see you ready? Are you preparing to share it? If not, I can share it in about 10
Leah
seconds.
was also trying to do
Yes.
it.
Yeah, I'm just, oh, there you go. Oh, it's a different video.
Oh.
I can pull it up.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Or if you can drop the link, we can make sure. Thanks, Gianna.
The Marine Sanctuary came about as a dream and a feeling of wanting to help. It started inside of my heart. It started with me and the whales, and it started with my family telling me, that it's important that we do everything we can to protect the ocean.
The Chumash ancestors are known by archaeology to have been here about 14,000 years. Of course, the people always say we've always been here since time immemorial. Most non-Indian people are not aware that Indians even exist in California anymore. Or if they do, they don't really understand how we are still here, where we came from, how long we've been here. It's unless they go to the museum, and then that conveys a pretty strong message that there's not much left.
In 1969, more than 4 million gallons of oil spilled into the Santa Barbara Channel. At the time, it was the worst oil spill in U.S. history, and California reacted by placing a permanent ban on all new oil leases in state-controlled waters. It remains the third largest oil spill in U.S. history.
Given the new administration and given the changes that we're seeing and the transitions, people are really coming out in support. It seems to be a threat and a clear and present danger that oil and gas production is going to increase.
I hope more and more people will understand that not only did we have the privilege to take from the land, and still the privilege to take from the land, and even if it's indirectly, but we have always the responsibility to take care.
In modern history, in the last 200 years, we haven't treated it very well. And the Chumash have the spirit and the culture and the values of ocean stewardship, and I'd like to bring those back.
And I don't think anything that anybody can tell us would change the way we feel about the fact that people want to drill off of our coast. It's an opportunity to take our heritage, the things that we care about, the things that are connected to our life, our stories, our ancestors, and do it in a way that's basically never been done before. A lot of folks say, well, Fred, how are you guys going to trust the federal government? And at some point we have to continue the healing. And no better way to do it than with Mother Ocean. I was out on Point Buchanan, and I was, laying in the grass, listening to the ocean. I kept hearing these rifle shots, and I go, man, who's shooting now the way out here? I set up, and I looked out in the ocean, and there was an amazing pod of whales, and they were breaching, unbelievable. I just felt this communication. I thought that there was something that they needed from us, and so the next day, I was talking to a friend, and she told me that NOAA was opening up the designation process for marine sanctuaries.
Oh, Gianna, did we lose Gianna?
I guess there was a glitch, right? I could keep talking if we lost her.
Yeah, I think let's go for it. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Well, my dad was laid to rest, and his final wish was to be placed in the ocean at Spooner's Cove at Montana. And he would have liked that all the community came together and carried him there in our tamal. And so what you witnessed is a little bit of the inside of our community, and the Chumash heritage would bring a national global spotlight on the Chumash people, which are the most beautiful and amazing people. And it was always his wish that people would know us and know how amazing our culture was. And one of the last things he said to me was this was the most important thing that he had ever been a part of. And so the nomination went into the designation phase just 40 days after he passed away. And so it was a bittersweet moment. But now we have passed the scoping phase with NOAA. And right now NOAA is reviewing all of the public comments to come up with a management plan for the Chumash heritage. And if they were surprised at the 14,000 we had at our 5-year review, I think that they were blown away that we had 30,000 comments on the end of our scoping phase back in January 31st. 30,000 people weighed in for the ocean. And I think about how important that is and how overwhelming that would have been to my dad, and certainly to me and to our community, that in the middle of one of the greatest pandemics, and in the middle of so much chaos going on in our country, that people have doubled down on their commitment to protecting the ocean and protecting our resources and supporting the indigenous communities. And so I would just like to take this moment to just thank everybody, and to just let you know how incredible the opportunity that we have now is to move the Chumash heritage into designation, and to make tribal co-management a real thing of the future. It needs to be funded. It needs to be an example of how tribes can help manage their land and the oceans. And so when you talk to people, your local legislators, state and federal representatives, make sure that you mention that you support tribal co-management of ocean and land. We have a lot of key leadership that is supporting the indigenous opportunities in 30 by 30, and with the Biden administration's America the Beautiful, and just let them know that you support that, and that you definitely support the Chumash heritage moving into designation. So I think I know that we could open it up to some questions. I think, was Laura or one of you gonna moderate some questions for me?
Yes, Laura Walsh here, not to be confused with Laura Dean. I would love to moderate if people have questions to drop in the chat. And just thank you for your words, Violet. Such a cool video it's like awesome to just get to see the value of this place and get to see like culturally, socially, how people use it and all the biodiversity that exists there. So it's just really great visual piece to go along with your story.
And people can go to the website shumashsanctuary.org and watch some of the videos and some of our stories and read some of our stories too. So there's a lot of really good information. You can sign up for our newsletters and get important information about volunteering or anything else that you need there.
And people can drop any kind of questions in the chat and I'll check them out. I guess if I had a question, I mean, when I joined Surfrider, this was already, a campaign that people had focused on much Surfrider, other NGOs for a long time. At what point did you start feeling like this could become a reality?
Like 6 months ago. Honestly, there was a long stall. Like, we were kind of scared with the last administration. We didn't know what was going to happen and if we were going to go into the 5-year review. I think it really depended on the political will, and Megan had just asked the question in the chat, what can we do to help the sanctuary move forward? And right now the political will is really the most important thing. Getting your local electeds, people in Morro Bay, people in Pismo Beach, people like that are in the cities that the sanctuary would surround, talking to them about supporting the sanctuary and how important it is to you and how important it is to your family. Right now, people are asking for volunteers and for donations for campaigns and stuff, and ask them, ask them the hard questions, and ask them to support marine conservation and renewable energy. People, they don't need to be in conflict. We talked a lot about the wind energy off of the coast and the marine sanctuaries, and we need to do both. We need to figure out a way to have clean energy and also a clean environment, and we need to be compatible and not have any ideas of competing interests. We have the same interests. And so I would say that's the most important thing, is to talk to your neighbors, sign up on our website. We're going to have another call to action when public comment goes out again on the management plan that NOAA's going to come up with for the marine sanctuary. So until then, we just need to continue to build local support, and especially from our local electeds.
And you've obviously built much, a broader coalition of support beyond the local level, and coming from such a community-based perspective, what has it been like kind of trying to broaden the message? Reach a broader group of people.
That's one of the things I wanted to say, thank you to Surfrider. We do have a coalition of partners. And in the beginning, when NOAA announced that they were going to open up the nomination period for new marine sanctuaries after a 20-year prohibition on new marine sanctuaries, we had to partner with people like Surfrider and Sierra Club and these other organizations, because we needed support. And so now that we have done a lot of the legwork, having national support, I think we had like 150,000 national media hits when the designation was announced moving forward. So we've actually gotten a lot of help now, which is amazing. And we've actually hired and have people on our staff that are Chumash people. So most of the work being done at the Chumash Sanctuary, at events, at speaking engagements and stuff are done by Chumash people. So I really appreciate, in the video you saw Roberta Cordero, I asked her, and we had talked after my dad passed about her becoming the elder for the marine sanctuary and our advisor. And also Slo Gutierrez, who was in the picture of the tamal, the original halik that was done back in the 70s on that video. He is one of the original Brotherhood of the Tamal that built the first tamal after 150 years. He's on our elders advisor circle. And so we've gotten a lot of support now that we're this close, and we need to continue to build momentum and continue to put pressure on our local electeds, not only to support it, but to make sure that it's funded. And speaking of that, the funding, for oceans, I was really surprised. One of the things I learned in this process is that, ocean funding is only, maybe 20 cents per acre versus nearly $30 per acre for its land counterparts. And so, ocean conservation and ocean programs need to have equal footing and some type of equitable resources put to them, because the ocean is just as important as any type of land-based protection and land resources. And And so I was really grateful about how far, the NOAA, the marine sanctuaries and stuff can stretch their money and do the best work that they can with the funding that they have. But really we need to ask for more funding for ocean conservation.
Which I think a lot of some orgs tuning in today are hoping to see that through, like the governor's budget in California and just more broadly too. You mentioned it in the video, but it was obviously, I'm sure, like difficult and thoughtful consideration around working within traditional bureaucracy to support something like a marine sanctuary. Can you touch on that a little bit, of like what decisions went into that?
We are still working on how co-management will look, and I think that I am so thankful and grateful that Secretary Deb Haaland is such an amazing, representative for Indigenous people and can pursue some of this more tribal involvement and tribal co-management. But she is the land base, and so we need to. It's going to be a learning curve to teach people how to make things like this happen. Tribal co-management, tribal engagement, and tribes should not be sidelined to advisory councils. That should be flushed with sustainability. Like, we can do better than that. Tribes need to be engaged. They need to work in the fields. They need to do research and science and management, and be valued contributors to protecting the ocean and land resources. So I think that meaningful tribal co-management means that we are able to see tribes working in the field and being able to take care of their family and having dignity and the same things that we all look for.
Is a super powerful message, and if we don't get any more questions in the chat, I just think that this was
Well, people can go have lunch. People can have a lunch break.
Yeah, we'll let people stop staring at their screen for a little bit. But thank you, Violet, so much for being here and all your work. And we're so stoked to partner with you. And we hope everyone can continue helping out with this effort, because it's not over. We still got a long road, right?
Well, hopefully not that long. Hopefully within the next year or two, we can see the designation. We're hoping to see this in the first administration, the first term of the administration. And so, keep us in your thoughts when you're talking to your legislative, representatives, and keep doing the good work. And thank you both, Lauras.
Thank you so much, Violet. It was so wonderful to hear your story. Thank you for sharing today.
Thank you, Violet. Well, with that, I think we're going to take a little bit of a lunch break. We have that aquarium tour at 2. We're going to show a quick 3-minute video that maybe if people are just keeping their Zooms on today, they can check it out and watch it while they make some lunch. This is a video featuring kind of some deep sea environments from Mare, who collects like really amazing footage of the ocean and works a lot on science communications and conservation communication. So I think we'll just play that for everyone's kind of visual enjoyment. And after this, we will just cut to break until about 2. Laura, is there audio that's supposed to be playing?
I'm not sure. Malia, do you hear audio?
I hear audio on my end.
Okay, so you might need to reshare it, but selecting that you want to share audio.
Yeah, if you stop screen share, Malia, then when you click screen share, there should be like some sort of advanced or pop-up button where you can also share your audio.
Audio.
Malio might want to unmute herself. That might help.
Yeah, want to try that and just playing through your speakers?